have there has got quite a few. Awesome. Welcome. So this handbook has got a ton of great information in it. Over the last month or so, we've had several past seminars. Nicole did one on resume writing. We've done some interviewing skills and things like that. And those things are also covered in this handbook, but you may not have gotten to come to that seminar. So if that's something that we need to touch on a little bit, we can. We're all actually, this is all leading up to next Monday. We have a community job fair actually happening here on campus in the rapid response room from 10 to 2. So it's kind of a lead up to that to help you prepare yourself in case you are planning on using that opportunity to find a job, or at least or practice your skills or practice things towards getting a job. If y'all will turn in the front, there's an index or contents. As you'll see, it really does cover kind of the whole thing. The job market, where things are, wages and things for the top 170 occupations right now, how employers hire, what you need to do to show the employers that you have the right stuff, using that right stuff to build your resume, how you get interviews, how to write a better cover letter, preparing for if the hiring manager calls you or when they call you, finding recommendations, how to fill out a job application, what to wear to an interview, enthusiasm, how to have a successful interview, navigating your way through the interviews. There's quite a bit about interviewing in here. There's actually even 50 tests, like practice questions of things that might be asked of you during your interview. And then the follow-up, and then at the very back, it has what's called the short course. It's kind of like the summary of, all of the main points that we are in here available today. We're not going to go through all of that today. We may touch on a few things, major pieces of it here and there. You want this one? Sure. Okay. You need one more? No, I'm good. You want one? So, those of you who've taken my speech class, I'm going to spend a little bit of time. I want to get to know you just a little bit, and we won't get involved. We need to know more about why you're here specifically today, or where you are in the job hunt type thing, and do you need resume help? You have never done an interview, you've done part-time jobs, but you're looking for a career change, that kind of a thing. So you can kind of give me an idea where we need to go with this today. I'll start with you, Ashley, just because
they center all over the campus, 12 different directions.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Welcome. Here, if you will sign in right there, and you're gonna give her. Okay, so I'm gonna make you start, Ashley, since you're in my current speech class.
So I'm majoring in psychology, but I don't know what job I want to get in psychology, and I've never had a job before. I don't have any job experience or resume or anything.
Brand new to the job market. Perfect.
Well, my major is in business accounting. Now that I'm about to graduate as an associate, I've discovered that I should have gone for my bachelor's, just because there's more jobs out there as with the bachelor's degree. My situation is I haven't gone job hunting since I was young or younger, and so I know it's changed the way it is now. It's not the same like it used to be. And so that's kind of where I stand, that I want to learn the new
methods, new systems. Why are you here? I know you just got thrown in. Where are you in the job search market? What are you hoping to get out of this?
I'm hoping to get out of how to start looking for a job.
Okay.
I just left working for a dealership. I was the finance manager. I went from being a sales to finance. I was there 9 months, and I am actually getting my GED, so they're not wanting to work with me on the hours and stuff like that with the finance department, so
Gotcha.
gotta switch over.
You already know about the job fair on Monday?
No.
We have a job fair on campus on Monday from 10 to 2 in the rapid response room.
Okay.
That's probably where Tracy just brought you from.
Yes.
All the way over there. Awesome.
I'd like to get more, I've done a resume before, I've done interviews at jobs, but more professional tips on
Okay.
what's put on a resume, on how to answer questions, so.
Awesome. Perfect.
Kind of same boat as him. I'm going through career change, going to school here. And so just came along to see what else I could learn to help me in my new job search, in a couple, 6 months.
Okay, cool.
I've had a job before.
Yeah. Okay. And for you?
I was looking for how to get into making resumes for jobs.
Perfect. Okay. Retired. It's a whole different ball game, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm similar to hers, kind of new, so.
Kind of new to the whole thing?
Yeah.
Same? Okay, so we got a little bit, we kind of almost got both ends, but where you actually meet in the middle is you need to know how to look at getting jobs right now. Because you guys haven't, and then you guys have, but it's a new world out there, a new job market, or maybe in the past you've undersold yourself or something along those lines, and so now you need to move forward in seeing what the modern approach to things are. So I set mine down somewhere, didn't I? Yeah, I did. So, like I said, in this book, what I really liked about it and what drew Mike and I to it is that not only does it kind of teach at you or make you kind of read through these things, but there's also some really good examples or has you work through it. So that's why as a handbook or workbook, it will help you. Even if we don't cover it today, you've got the information there, and if you use it, you can really practice with it and see what's going on. In the very beginning, they kind of did what I did. Where are you? Is there a certain occupation you're looking for? Are you clueless? You don't really know? That kind of thing. And so then that next page gives you a chart of the top 170 occupations through 2026 is what they're projecting. So that's a good place if you're not even sure which direction you want to go after you've looked at it, that you'll be able to kind of see what is projected into your future. So that was page 7. What I want to go to first is I'm going to go to page 8. So page 8 is how employers hire. How employers hire. So for most of us, especially new to the job search market, we've never been on the other side for sure. If this is our first time on the hiring side, we have no idea what it's like if it's our first time getting hired, we've definitely never been on the hiring side trying to hire someone. So I am the type of person that if I can see the whole picture, it makes me understand my part a little bit better. So I think that was really great that they include this in here so that you understand what process the hiring managers or the company is going through when they're looking to find somebody. So basically, a job position opens up. Something happens, either they're awesome and they're growing and they need to hire more people, or someone has left or been promoted and a position is left open. So then they review what's called the job description. So every position is going to have a job description. You may have heard in jokes and things about, well, that's not in my job description, or other duties as assigned, it being written in your job description, that kind of a thing. It's because we all have some type of a job description. It's just part of it. And that's going to line out exactly what is expected of the person in this position. Usually it's also going to include the types of skills and expectations that they're going to have for that position. So then they open the job. Everybody reviews it, all of the supervisors all the way up, everybody reviews it and says, okay, we're good, this is what we need to hire to fill this spot. It's posted somewhere, wherever it is that this specific company posts it, or it's open. Some companies don't actually do a physical posting. They don't even do an online posting. Some of them kind of rely on word of mouth. My brother is a partner in a CPA firm, and they a lot of the time don't post when they're looking for a new employee. They kind of run through their networks and are looking for people in that way. So sometimes it can be difficult to find out exactly who's hiring. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of us make, including myself, is that we just go looking for what's posted instead of some of the great tips that this gives you about seeking out positions that you're looking for. So maybe in the accounting world, if that's a direction that you're wanting to go, they have suggestions on finding 5 employers a week and making contact and sending your resume to 5 potential employers every week, because that may be the only way that you get in front of them. And sometimes that happens, that in my brother's case, a resume or someone they know, pops up and they say, oh, so-and-so, I know so-and-so's looking for a job. And they're like, oh, we'll send over his resume and we'll take a look. Well, if it's possible that he will, they would fit into the company, then they'll take a look at him and potentially bring him in for an interview that way. So there may not even be a position open per se, but if the right person comes along, then they'll add them to the team, if that makes sense. So then the resumes or the applications start pouring in. So they've posted it, or they start getting the word out about the job, then the resumes all start coming in, and they're hopefully inundated with lots and lots of resumes of people looking to fill this job. Some places have software that will kind of sort those things for them. A lot of them out here in rural area, there's not any kind of an automated process unless it's an online system. They're part of a bigger corporation with online applications. Most of the time here, you're still being weeded out by hand. Applications are being weeded out by hand. So that's why it's so important to learn the new ways. So in case you're caught into a database, then you're good there, but also to make yourself attractive on paper if you're being weeded out by hand. Then they weed through the resumes, find the ones that look like they could potentially meet the skill set that they're looking for, and then they make some phone calls. They make the phone calls and start calling people and potentially doing like a tiny interview or a small interview just in that phone call, or at least inviting you to come in for an interview or a video interview, or all kinds of different things are happening these days. Then they may check your references. They're going to schedule your interview and check your references. What I highlighted for myself was up here in the top right-hand column, about the fact that they'll even visit their blogs, websites, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. They'll just Google your name, any of those things, so they can get an idea and a feel of who they're potentially going to interview or who they're going to be bringing into the office. I did recruitment for an organization called AmeriCorps Vista, and I Googled and Facebooked every single person that I potentially interviewed. And it's not necessarily, and we talk about this a little later in there, not necessarily looking for negative things or bad things on your profiles, just trying to get a kind of a feel of who you are and what the expectations are. Because sometimes you have your previous job employment or different things. Sometimes especially because I was working with generally a younger population, to see that they had their privacy settings set well was kind of impressive to me sometimes. So even if I got to where I could find them or I couldn't find them, the fact that their privacy settings kept them from being public meant that they at least cared a little bit about, keeping those things private. Some people will just blast all of their thoughts and opinions online. And it's not bad to have thoughts and opinions. It's just, being respectful. They're going to get a feel of who you are as a person, whether you'll fit in with their team is more of the issue. So that's one of the first things I would do if you're brand new to the job market, is either clean up your social media, go through and look at it as if you were a hiring manager. Would you hire yourself? Or get someone like me to do that. I'll search you if you want to come and hang out in my office, and I'll do it with you, and we can go through and I'll show you what someone like me would see if I went searching for you. And you can see if there's something that you need to clean up or change or edit, that type of thing. You're gonna hopefully have gotten that interview, and then they start making job offers. So remember, we're doing this from the perspective of the hiring person. So they've checked references, and now they're going to offer the job. There's actually, there are people who turn down jobs. Like, once you've offered the position, you don't have to take the job. If they call you and offer you an interview and you're not really sure if this is who you want to work for, if it's going to be the right fit for you, take the interview. It's always worth the practice to take the interview, go find out, learn a little bit, practice your interviewing skills, and if they offer you the job, you don't have to take it. If after the interview you still feel like, this just really isn't going to be the right fit, you can always tell them that. Or you can contact them after the interview and say, I really appreciate you interviewing me, but I would like to withdraw my application. I don't think that this is going to be a good fit for you and I to work together, kind of a thing. So then it says, but suppose I don't have any work experience. And this is what like I said, really like about this handbook, is that it asks those questions, those things you may already be running through your head. So I don't have work experience. What am I supposed to do? The next two chapters talks about finding your strengths and how you can showcase those anyway. So over here in the blue, it says, why is this such a long, drawn-out process? Well, it's for multiple reasons. Sometimes we feel like the people who are hiring us are just mean and have no respect for us and that kind of thing. But really, usually we're hiring as an additional task on top of our day-to-day duties. We have to fill these positions. We're already, teaching classes and whatever it is that we're doing on our day-to-day basis. And now we have to fit in searching and hiring somebody. So it is time-consuming. For us, it's a time investment and a financial investment for a company to recruit from an employee. I think your book uses the figure of $4,100 on average to recruit and hire each new employee. And that's not even considering time and training, I don't believe, in their numbers. So, that can fluctuate, but especially if they're publicizing in newspapers and even Indeed and Monster and some of those, they have paid ads, things like that. They're having to pay to bring in those, to advertise the job so that they can start getting those resumes. So they put in some investment. So it's really important to them that that they choose the right person. So sometimes it's a committee. Maybe there's 4 or 5 people that have to be on the committee to hire you because you're going to work in multiple areas. Then we have to find scheduled time that works not only for you to come in to interview, but for all 5 of those people as well. So that's why it can get kind of time consuming and you might get frustrated. They interviewed me on Tuesday. Why have it's Friday. Why have I not heard something? Well, they may be doing other interviews and they may not have been able to get to all of them until Friday afternoon. And then they still need to debate and decide on what's going to go on. So give them a little leniency. A trend that I am not happy with on both sides of the hiring situation right now is this ghosting situation. So the term ghosting started in dating and has transferred itself into hiring as well. And so the term ghosting is basically you've built up some kind of a relationship and then you vanish. You quit, you stop all communication. Like, you just don't interact with them at all anymore. I've actually been ghosted by a person. She got interviewed and we were going to hire her, and she never answered her phone again. Didn't respond to calls, she didn't answer emails, nothing. Not I appreciate an interview, but this wasn't a fit, nothing, just vanished. It's not professional, and ironically, and I can actually say this because it has happened, I have ran into her in another situation since then. I have come across her in another situation that it would have been beneficial to her had she professionally communicated with me in that first job interview. So especially in communities like San Angelo, and a lot of the times in certain job fields, it's really important that you keep that in mind too. You want to be professional to this person, period, because you never know where you're gonna run into them again. They may change jobs and you're gonna go interview over there, or you may decide that you want to interview in another place or something like that.
In a town this size, that happens a lot.
It happens a lot, especially, like I said, in certain fields, like in the nonprofit sector. In the nonprofit sector, we do like what I call the shake the snow globe. Like, one person leaves so that everybody else seems to pick up and kind of rotate into different positions. Medical field, that happens a lot. Marketing and sales, that happens a lot. And so you'll come across several people, similar people, along your career lifespan. So keeping that in mind for the whole thing, for professional communication. Is there anything specifically in this book right now that is standing out to you guys that you really want me to focus on? So I want to make sure that...
For some of the younger people that may not have had a formal job, maybe they worked with their dad, mowing lawns, maybe they did some babysitting, or other kinds of jobs that weren't like in the job market necessarily. How would you suggest that they list some of the skills that they have gotten, or volunteering?
Or volunteering, any of those things, for sure. So actually, if you'll go over to page 14, we'll go over to 14. We can backtrack if we need to. So use the right stuff to build a powerful resume. Backtrack, sorry, to 10. We'll backtrack over to 10. So the number one, what is it over here, the big fact that gives you over here is the number one, lack of technical skills is the number one reason employers have trouble filling job openings. So working on those practical skills, or identifying skills that you have that are practical skills, are practical technical skills, will help to elevate you to the top when you're looking. Sometimes we tend to overlook things that we don't realize are skills. We don't realize are marketable skills for a job place. So that's what this kind of lays out there for you. So they give you a full example of the process you might go through. So let's take it from the beginning. There's a portrait photographer, right? So we kind of know what a portrait photographer does. And then you see the list of requirements of the job from the Help Wanted advertisement. They want you to capture the spirit of the subject, set up equipment for the photo shoot, create the setting for the best shot, position and coach the subject, schedule appointments to view photo proofs and sell photo packages. So you're going to take the first requirement from your list, so capture the spirit, give an example of how you've done that. So if you take it that way, because this is pretty specific if you were looking at one certain job at a time, but if you identify the direction that you want to go or the type of job that you're looking for, you can do this, and maybe you build several different skill set things that you can interchange with your resume. Because that's the thing, is your resume is not like a signed in concrete document. If you're looking and you're applying for accounting specific jobs, you may have your accounting specific resume. If you're looking more for HR jobs, then you may have a resume that you've more geared towards, HR, human resources stuff. You may not ever have a solid resume, and you may never send the same resume to multiple people. You could be, rewriting it or editing it, and you should, for the different types of jobs that you're looking for and applying to. because they're gonna need different skill sets. So you can't fit everything about you in one page. So you pick those things that are important for that job, and then maybe edit or make different drafts of your resume to make it more appealing for whichever direction that you need to go. So over here in the blue column on page 11 kind of answers her question of, if you don't have one of the needed job requirements, offer a substitute. So a substitute shows that you have similar knowledge or you have skills in a similar area. So maybe you haven't, you just worked for Dad and you did lawn care. Well, did you have to clean the machines? Were you in charge of loading the equipment? Were you in charge of driving the trailer safely and other employees to whatever the next location was? You may assume that people know what you have, all of, what goes into landscaping, but I guarantee you there's going to be something that you can come up with that will transfer into another scenario. For me, landscapers, they're not afraid of getting dirty. They're not afraid of hard work. They're not afraid of sunshine and long hours. And you can take those types of things and turn them into marketable skills in other areas. Willing to go above and beyond to meet job, I just lost what I was going to say, to meet deadlines, or something along those lines. Because you may have had 5 yards you had to get done that day and the sun goes down at 7, so what are we going to do to make sure? Attention to detail could be something that you've pulled out of like a landscaping type job, because you've needed to make sure not only is it important for you because you want to make your dad happy, but your total work affects your dad's company and how that is portrayed in the future of his business. So you've had to put those things in your mind before. You may just not have ever realized it for a marketable skill on your resume. Does that make sense? Are there any other specific jobs you want me to pull from there? Or volunteering opportunities, depending on what you've done in volunteering. Okay, you weren't paid for it, but maybe you volunteered at a nursing home regularly, or you chose to do a Meals for the Elderly route, and you've held that same route for 6 months or longer or something, and so then you've been reliable, you've been on time, you've been respectful to the client's needs, you've been able to customer service and interact well with both of the staff and the clients from Meals for the Elderly or whatever it is.
Yeah, navigation skills.
Navigation skills, you can navigate. The first job I got when I got into San Angelo, and I think this still was one of the best things I ever did, because that was pre-GPS. I know some of you don't know what that life was like, but I did. I worked for a real estate agent, and so I had a paper map of San Angelo, and I'd have to go over to whatever house it was that we were working on, and I would kind of clean up and dust the porch and stuff before open houses, that type of thing. So I had to get out a map and find the street. And there was a deal, and so I had to go to B5 and find that box and figure out how to get there. But I know San Angelo pretty well. I learned it pretty quickly. So navigation skills, map reading is actually may not be as needed right now, but could be helpful for you. So there are definitely ways that we can identify some other skills that you have or strengths that you have that will help you in that job hunt. Again, that's what I forgot too, is my business cards. So I don't think I've even introduced myself. I'm Kaitlyn Brosh. I'm the coordinator of student life and career services for Howard College. I'm also an adjunct speech instructor. I teach speech as well. So if there is anything in this area, you want help with your job hunt, the search, the resume writing, you want to do a mock interview, any of those things, you're welcome to reach out to me and we'll schedule that. We'll get something set up for you so we can help you. If writing a resume or if figuring out what those things are and you need to work on that, come on over and we'll sit down and we'll chit chat and I'll help you, lack of better words, like spin doctor, these things, help you pull those skills out of your landscaping or your babysitting experience to help you find what those strengths are that will help you in your job hunt. Let's see, where does this move us to? So the next pages, 12 and 13 here, I'm not going to make you do these with me right now, but this I think is a fantastic, one of my favorite exercises in the whole book is this one right here. So it's just a further actual work page for what we were just talking about, how you can find the requirement and give an example of how or when you've done it, and then add some details. So if you can add, what they suggest is some kind of a numerical, quantitative number to it, then that will help the hiring manager see, one, you're very thorough, and two, it quantifies what you've been able to do. So the example they have here was, okay, you made sandwiches, right? You have to make sandwiches. You're going to apply to be, part-time job at Subway. An example, you've made custom sandwiches in a mobile deli, right? And then to add some details, made hundreds of custom sandwiches during lunch hour rush in a 2-person mobile deli. So that tells me, that little sentence tells me a lot about what you've been able to do. You've worked in a high pace, lunch traffic sandwich shop, and there was just the two of you. You were able to continue this going. One, you were able to work with somebody else, but two, there was just the two of you, so you were able to work, and you understand the importance of teamwork in that, being successful. And they give you like 8 examples right there, and the space to practice that, to find a skill that's needed, and then drill it down into what could be identified as strengths. And our reason for doing that, I guarantee you, I personally, even reading this book, I personally have never put quantitative measures on my resume. I never have. But now looking back, having been a hiring manager, I know, man, if I would have seen, if I saw that, heck yeah, I would be all about it, especially if you do fundraising or volunteer coordinating. Any of those things, they're definitely going to be really interested in seeing that you know how to use those numbers. Yes, sir?
What would it look like on a resume to see a 3-man petting zoo with a lot of large animals?
3-man petting zoo with a lot of large animals.
Like camels, zebras, fox.
That's really awesome. I just would call you in an interview just to talk to you. How can I get a hold of the zebra? Can I go?
Well, you're responsible for the care
Yeah.
and safety of those animals.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the first thing I think of.
Yeah.
And the care and safety for the people who come into the area.
Yes, exactly. You've had to maintain a clean environment up to, I don't know, but I'm assuming up to some type of standards. Some kind of health code standards of some sort. You've had to, monitor the animals for any evidence of sickness or illness or anything like that, because you don't want to let that get out of hand. The care, as she said, you've probably, when you just added the numbers yourself to a 3-man mobile petting zoo. Is that what it was? Yeah. I would always lead with camels, zebras, and whatever it was.
Yes.
I would put those words in your resume.
Exotic animals.
Exactly. And yes, and exotic animals such as camels, zebra, because somebody's gonna read that resume and be like, really? Regardless of, it's just gonna be that unique thing that they also talk in here. That's that unique thing that they're gonna be like, oh, that was that camel guy. The strangest things stick out to us when we're referring to people. Whether or not it has anything to do with hiring you for this accounting job, you're the camel guy. That's what we would remember. Now if I see you on campus, I'll probably refer to you as the camel guy. That's just how our brains kind of process information, and that's going to make you stand out. So I definitely would make sure you include it. Do just like you said, assisted with a three-person team on a mobile petting zoo with exotic animals, was in charge of maintaining their clean environment, up to health code standards or whatever standards you may have had to have met.
Yeah, I think the safety
Travel and
aspect
transportation,
safely.
responsible for the safety of animals and the visitors to the attraction, all of those things. Using safety, anything having to do with understanding safety regulations, which you may not have had official regulations, so you don't want to falsify on your resume and stretch it more than what it is, but the fact that you understand the need for safety measures and identifying those things will stand out to managers as well, because that's one of those other tasks that we have in the back of our head is risk management and safety of our employees and people around us. So some of those things trigger as important words for us as well. So I highly recommend you guys using that page to go down, find those skills that are important for you and go from there. Oh gosh, it's already 2:45? 1:45. And then you can build those things into your resume. Again, awesome example here, and I think the resume building is going to be more of a one-on-one situation. If you got some more questions, I'd love to help you in here. Otherwise, I think more of a one-on-one situation if you want to come in and we can kind of talk through those. But they give you 3 really good examples here. Like here's one that this person had no work experience. There's a resume example for you for somebody who has no work experience. Here's one that they use their classroom experience in their resume. There's the resume showing some work experience, and then there's kind of a blank one where you could kind of start jotting out and practicing for yourself on page 19. And of course, each one of these pages has some extra helpful tips. On page 17, use action words. The action words are really important. I highly suggest whenever you're talking about your skills, those are things that you actively did, or you were responsible for, or you supervised, you set up, you repaired, you reduced. It shows activity, if that makes sense. So all of this is kind of language stuff that resonates in our minds as we're reading through your resume. Okay, how to get job interviews, 20. So this is kind of like searching for the jobs, really. So where do we go to find jobs? Well, number 1, it talks about employee referrals. So do you have an idea of what companies you want to work for, the type of job that you're looking for, and who do you know in that job field? Whether it's a friend, a family member, a teacher, an instructor, because a lot of us also have, prior careers in certain areas or certain fields, or we have brothers or someone in certain fields, if you've ever heard us talking about them. Think about those people. Is there somebody that could refer you to their manager, or is there somebody that could give you suggestions on where to apply or where to submit applications, that type of thing. So you can do that, start making your list of all the different places that you might be interested in. Again, they give you some, script almost, like what do I do? How do I get started? Well, you can call your friend. Hey, Betty, it's Duncan. Ask them for help. I'd like to apply for the job. They even give you a little script here on, how do I ask my, I went to high school with them. I haven't talked to them in, a couple of years. How do I call them and just ask them? There's a little script for you right there. Do you have to go buy it straight from it? No, obviously not. But it at least gives you some suggestions on how you could start the conversation. Because I know some of us, especially in this texting technology age, we don't like having phone conversations with people, and we feel really awkward. So even though it may sound silly to read it, it actually becomes really helpful. For me, moving into some of my first jobs, making phone calls was some of the most stressful stuff, and I really appreciated being able to watch someone else do it, or having some type of a script of some sort to go off of. Even last year, I guess it would have been like January of last year was my first opportunity to start making the phone calls. We have what we call the purge list up here as the semester gets started for students who haven't paid their bill. And so, you hear if you don't pay, then you're going to be dropped from your classes. Well, somebody has to do that. And so we have what we call the purge list that we as faculty and staff members will go through and try to make phone calls and like, hey, did you know that you haven't paid, or you need to check in on this? And that's the first thing I did is I went and found whoever was making calls, and I sat down in the office with them for a couple of calls, listened to them and how they did it before I ran off. So having scripts like this, which are all through this book, can really help you to break down some of that anxiety moving forward. Does the employer that you're interested in have a career site, or do they have somewhere on their website? Most places now have website or their applications online. So you want to go there and you want to make sure you fill out that application just as strong as your resume. You want to still identify whether you're planning on writing up a resume or you're going to have to fill out these applications. Practice those skill things. Think about the volunteer activities, the classes, even if you're new out of high school and we're on some sports teams or things like that. Go ahead and start working on those skills lists, because there may be somewhere in that application that you can incorporate those as well. And then job boards. So you've got job boards like Career Builder, Monster, Craigslist, and there's also some search engines like Simply Hired and Indeed. Indeed is probably, Monster.com and Indeed are probably the two most frequently used right now. So for you guys, you may have already known that. But used to, you had to get the newspaper out and there were want ads and things like that. That's not really the case nearly as much. Even Facebook has job boards and stuff and that kind of thing. I wasn't personally, as a hiring manager, super fond of the Facebook version. It may have may have improved over the last year or so, but Indeed seemed to be one of the most user-friendly and had the most ways to sort the information and look for the type of job that I was interested in. So that's going to be one of your first things. Something that gets really frustrating for a lot of people is that most of your job postings, most of those positions are not going to have salary, benefit, any of that type of information available. And that can be really frustrating because you may have very specific needs on what you need for your salary or benefits or time. But the only way that you can find out that information is to try. Try to get in contact with the company and fill out that information. You're fine. And when you're doing that, you want to make sure you submit. That's what I highlighted there, was submit a clean application. So spell check yourself. Have somebody else spell check for you. Use correct punctuation and full sentences. Don't use the @ sign or pound, but hashtag. Make sure that every single thing that you send to them is professionally done. If you're sending them an email requesting information, that you do it in a true professional format. Dear Mr. to whom it may concern, enter your paragraph and conclude. Because I've seen as an instructor lots of just run-on emails and things like that. They're not text messages. It's the expectation on the other side is a little more formal as well. You can do walk-ins. There are some. Those are probably going to be a little more, not necessarily an informal job, but maybe first-time jobs, entry-level type positions that you would be doing more of the walk-ins. Your professional post-graduation, career type jobs are going to most likely require application, resumes, submitting, job interviews, that type of thing. But there are times that you could potentially get hired on a walk-in in other positions. So walk-ins basically means they have a sign in the window saying now hiring, and you go in and fill out the application. Sometimes if the manager is on duty, the hiring manager, they'll interview you right then and there. So even when you go in to go pick up an application, already be dressed, not dressed to impress necessarily. You don't have to be in your suit like you would for an interview or something, but you don't want to go in your sweatpants and flip-flops. Like, go in nice and presentable. When I worked at Texas Roadhouse in college, that was one of the first things my hostess manager, if they came in to pick up applications, even just kind of dressed slouchy, she already knew she wasn't planning on, not that they wouldn't get hired, but they were already down a few notches. You know, it was going to take a little bit for them to elevate to where she would be willing to hire them. Just because, especially from a hostess perspective, you're the first face they see and that type of thing. So she wanted somebody who's going to have pride in their appearance and who they are. So keep that in mind as well, even just in your general interactions. My husband is an electrician, and we were moving from San Angelo to Lubbock, and he filled out a resume and took it with him, went to the supply houses, so it's where he gets his electrical supplies, light bulbs, and all of that stuff. He went to his supply house up there and asked them, okay, I'm going to be looking for a job. Do you guys have any suggestions on where or who's hiring or where I might go? And they gave him a couple of names, and so he went to the first one, and he was dressed nice, boots, jeans, he wears a cowboy hat, walked in with a resume and handed it to the guy. The guy talked to him for 5 or 10 minutes and hired him on the spot, because in his field, that's not generally what you get. You don't come in one with a resume, nice and ready and presentable and searching for jobs that way. You might get a phone call of, hey, are you hiring, that type of thing, but this really opened big doors for him. Ironically, the guy who was there was also from San Angelo, from his past, and so he got to meet him one-on-one, and he kind of took him under his wing, and we came home, and now we own our own electrical company. But had it not been for his opportunity with that company, doing large commercial work and them giving him some supervisory experience, he never would be in the position now to own his own electrical company. So the importance of dress and that first impression really cannot be downplayed. So, questions? I know we're kind of hitting, I want to make sure that I'm giving you the information that you need. Stuff about cover letters. One of the first questions that they say is, do I really need a cover letter? Does everybody turn in a cover letter? No, most people do not include a cover letter, and that's why you should send one. It's what this book is telling you. Trends, ebb and flow, and I think this book is on the front end of the new cycle, which is are people using cover letters? No. But that's exactly why you should do it, because you're trying to put yourself above the other 4 million people that are out there trying to find a job. So if you put together a really well-written cover letter, most online applications have somewhere for you to upload a resume and a cover letter. And maybe if the application was full enough, maybe you don't need to submit your resume again. I know for like ASU and Howard College, you already have to fill in your where you went to college and former jobs, all of that stuff. So doing attaching your resume may not add a whole lot, but adding a cover letter will, because we can learn a little bit more about you and your personality from that cover letter. And especially if nobody else is putting it in there, that may be that one thing that tweaks you from being number 7 on the list to number 6, and we're interviewing number 6 of you. And then if you can get in front of the interview people and just rock it, then you have a better chance. But if you can't get from number 7 to number 6, then we don't even see you in face to face. And that's first step, is getting the interview in the first place. So whatever you can do to make yourself stand out, like using the quantitative measures in your skill set, using the skills list, a lot of those tips that were in here for you, using the cover letter, that's going to put you at the top of the pile as they're sorting through applications. Let's see. And again, great information. I'm not going to go through that with you on how to write a cover letter, If you want help writing a cover letter, or you want me to review your cover letter or help you in those areas, again, reach out to me. I forgot my cards, but we'll get that information for you, I promise. And again, samples, Anna, you try it. Sample, Anna, you try it. So you can practice right here in this handbook. Finding people to give you a recommendation was one that I highlighted a whole lot of spots on. So good references might include former supervisors, co-workers, customers, teachers, coaches, prominent people in the community that you may know that may have some connection with you in some way. This covers in a couple different spots about, well, what about my current boss? Well, if you haven't told your current boss that you're looking for another job, then you probably aren't going to use them here as one of your recommendations or as one of your references. A lot of places are going to require at least the contact information for that person, and usually, do we have permission to contact this person or not? And this is one area that I feel in the HR world, everybody is kind of divided between, do I allow them to talk to my boss or do I not? Because some people say, well, if you say no, I'm not allowed to talk to your boss, I'm automatically gonna, get rid of your resume. I'm not one of those people, and I think some of that has to do with your experiences in your past jobs, and I think that you need to fill that out for yourself and your situation. Because I've been in situations that my personal life, I couldn't tell my current boss that I was looking for another job. But I had to, if that makes sense. And letting the next company contact them would have been very negative. Some of us end up in somewhat hostile work environments, and it happens. So for me personally, I don't hold that against somebody if you don't want me to contact your current employer. I do want the employer prior to that if possible, or a coworker, maybe there's a coworker you work with now that you're comfortable sharing as a reference, somebody like that. We usually do still have to contact your current, once we've done the job offer or we've offered or told you that we were interested, have to check with your current employer just to verify your employment, that you actually work there. But again, what information you choose to share needs to be what you're comfortable with. Always ask before you use somebody as a reference, or at least tell them, hey, I know in the past you've let me use you as a reference. I'm applying for this job. Do you mind? Or I just want to let you know that I've used you as a reference on this job, so that they don't get surprised. Because I've been surprised by a call of, so they submitted you as a reference, and it's not somebody that I wouldn't have recommended. I just was surprised by it. So you want to make sure that you let people know if you're using them for a reference. One thing that I saw in here that I really did like, that I've never thought of doing myself, especially if you're brand new and maybe you're reaching out to a high school your band teacher, you were a drum major, and so you're asking him to be a reference for you because they knew you in kind of that leadership position, is sending them a current resume. Or if you're reaching back farther into your life and you need to use them as a reference, send them a copy of your current resume, so that when they get that call, as they say here, they remember who you were and what you did. If it's, because some of these people, they have large companies. If you worked at Cytel or somewhere like that, you could have been one of 6 Marys, and they trying to remember exactly who you were. So if you give them a copy of your newest resume, that helps to remind them who you were and what they can help to use to sell you to your potential new employer. Oh, never badmouth a former employer. Never badmouth anybody in a job interview. You can always say, it was a difference of opinion and we just didn't work well as a team together, but do not go into detail of any kind on specifics on what happened, because that just makes you look like you're the one that's not the team player, and you're willing to go out and, you know, be badmouth people. And is this the negativity that we want to add into our team? I know we're at that hour mark, and there's still so much in there. Job application, what to wear to an interview. We didn't get into interviewing, which we've done some past seminars on interviewing. Does anybody else have questions or things you'd like me to hit on, or no? Where you need to look for jobs? Okay.
Talking about the job fair.
The job fair.
Is there like a list of who's gonna be there?
I don't have it published just yet. As soon as probably Wednesday or Thursday of this week, we'll start pushing it. We're still adding some.
Where will we find the list?
We'll put it on Facebook, and then do you get your Howard College email? And then I'll shoot out a email to all of our students through that as well. So you should get it in both of those.